Hey guys, this is Eric bringing you another excellent exercise. So let's dive into yoga, a second part of a series that I'm coming up with. So I did a first part on the half moon, and today I want to do is focus on standing separate leg head to knee pose in yoga. And I'm just let me demonstrate what that would look like before we break it down. So usually the correct way to do a standing separate leg head to knee pose is I would straddle my mat. I don't have a mat with me today, but I would step over my mat about 3 to 4 feet here, and then I'm going to turn myself here. So the key is as I go down, I want to make sure that this front leg here is pointing true, straight through my foot. A lot of times we'll have a tendency to roll in. The big thing here with this stretch is it's an excellent TFL, or the outer part of that hip flexor stretch. And as you can see, this is my right leg right here, so that back leg. The key here is that most people can't get their pelvis turned. So you want to kind of turn the pelvis. I'm here, I'm going to fold over on my exhale, and I'm going to try to straighten my knee up and bring my head to my knee, if that's possible. So what we're going to do here is, just like I did in the first one, instead of just focusing on one dimension, and actually some of my instructors would actually get us to use the pelvis as a driver to kind of get into it, but then they stop right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the pelvis as a driver, because most of the time I find that the people that take my yoga class or my clients that I'm training, they, especially the ones that sit, will bend from the spine instead of bending from the hips, which means pushing the hips back. Okay, so let's use the pelvis as a driver. Okay, again, the driver of the body is the part of the body that will move the driver. I always say you got your head, your hands, and that stuff. So, of course, most of the time, the pelvis and the hips are locked up, and those are supposed to be very mobile joints. So let's get those bad boys mobile again. So when we're using the driver, we have 3 planes of motion. That's the focus. Most yoga classes and yoga poses neglect all 3 planes. They usually just get one, if that. So using the pelvis as a driver, right, I can go front to back, right, and see where I'm locked up. I can rotate, and I can go side to side. We always want to make sure we get those 3 planes, okay? But like I said, the hardest one right here is usually going to get the rotation. So, especially if you're tight here in this hip flexor, the TFL, there a lot of times you will see them, they won't be able to turn their pelvis completely forward, and that's the goal here. So that's, you want to get that pelvis completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exhale, turn my pelvis, and I can assist it. A lot of times I'll use my hands on my clients to kind of help get that pelvic bowl to turn. And then inhale, just kind of let them come back to neutral, so to speak. Exhale, rotating out here. Inhale, neutral. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to make my breath audible, because the key with yoga and in training too is to move with the breath, to bring the mindfulness into it, to make it easy. And most guys, right, or else they're holding their breath. You should always try to make it easy, comfortable here, especially when it comes to stretching and mobility and mobilization type exercise, because a deep, relaxed breath will open that up so much quicker. So I'm going to breathe in, exhale. Oh, by the way, this back foot, you want about 45, so you can see, notice my foot pointing 45 degrees. Here, so let's do 5 more. Okay. Once I get that, then just so I can feel like that movement of getting coming from the hips, I can get into that pose, but even pull myself up into steeple where I'm going to keep my shoulder blades down, grab my head, and lift myself up into a natural traction so that I'm separating the vertebrae in my spine. Because when you do that and the vertebrae is not all cramped up, you're going to get so much more. And your body's, you're basically going to be able to communicate without jumbling up all the spinal cord and the nerves in there, and give them space to breathe and do what they need to communicate and do the things that they need to do. So, get myself nice and tall, right? And then I'm going to exhale, inhale back to center, exhale. Good, now once I feel like I've got that position down now I'm going to do front to back. So actually, let's go side to side here, and then we'll go forward to back. So I'm going to reach up, I'm going to exhale, tip my, basically push my pelvis to my left, and then my right. I want to make sure that I'm not twisted up here though. Got to make sure that that pelvis is completely turned to the front, because I don't want to be rotating and then side flexing here. So nice and tall, inhale, exhale, and again I'm finding where I'm locked up. So if I know I got more range of motion when I go to my right, then let me focus more on that left. So I might exhale, come back to neutral, exhale back to neutral. So for me, I'm trying to see where they're both pretty even. And after you've done this a few times, so I'm usually using a lot of these stretches throughout my day. If I'm not tight, don't stretch it. There's no sense in stretching a muscle that's not tight. The biggest thing you want to pay attention to, and especially when we turn around to the other side, is there a difference from one side to the next? Okay, so, and I'll explain that as we flip sides here. So I'm here, pretty good. Now here's the key here. So instead of just going down in it, I can then make this a exercise and open up the pelvis instead of what yoga would do, which is put your butt down there and just hold it. And then you might come up and you do 1 rep of it. So I've got my pelvis up, I've loosened side to side. Now I'm going to go front to back. So nice and tall. So as I fold forward, I want to exhale. Okay, let's just do a couple. We can assist with our hands, right? So I'm exhale, push the pelvis back. So I'm bending by pushing my pelvis back, not by bending from my spine. So bending from my spine, and I can almost feel it hurting my back just doing that. I'm pushing my pelvis back. Inhale, right as I'm in extension, push it forward. So, especially when you start feeling some stress in your back here, we can traction the spine and really open that spine up and take that pressure off of it as we push the pelvis forward and lean back. So here the goal is to see if I can sweep my hands and get my hands to touch the ground, my head to touch my knee. That would be our goal. The movement is with the breath. So if I'm inhaling and my breath stops here, I'm going to stop. If I exhale and I stop there with my breath, I stop there. The goal is to deepen it with the movement. So I'm going to make my breath extremely audible here so you can see how I move with the breath. So I'm going to... nice and tall. The whole time I'm reaching up as high as I can with my hands. I'm never stopping. I'm not going to stop in short changes. I'm constantly reaching, and then I know that my spine is going to be in a good, and I'm going to work those postural muscles that should be holding me upright which get extremely weak on most people. You can see them, right? I always tell people, you want to see the best exercise in the world? 1, 2. So let's tie that all in one shot. So here we go. Pelvis is turned. I'm completely facing the front. Reaching, reaching, reaching. Pushing my pelvis back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So I'm breathing with my mouth so you can hear me, but the best way is to breathe completely through the nose. If you can do that, because the nose, that's what it's supposed to do. When you're breathing through the nose, especially on the inhale, it's a relaxed breath, okay? And then I can use my mouth through pursed lips to kind of blow more out if I need to, but I always feel like if you're breathing in and out through the nose, you're in a relaxed state. To get to the other side, I'm just going to switch positions. Now here, and I'll see it a lot on my clients, they'll even know. They're not even an expert when it comes to movement and anatomy and biomechanics, but they'll know. They'll be like, you know, holy crap, I can't turn my pelvis as far, and if you see a noticeable difference, then boom, you have to fix that. You need to bring mobilization into that joint, because then what you're going to get is torque or rotational stress around that joint, which is going to lead to all kinds of issues, especially if you see it in the strong hip flexor muscles such as the TFL or that outer part of the hip. If there's one tighter than the other, then you know that that pelvis is all rotated and is in a bad position just to start with. And so you want to open that up, right? Especially what most trainers would do is, like, as you can see, this is like a lunge. As you'll start putting their clients right into a lunge, not noticing that there's issues going on right here, put 40-pound dumbbells in their hands, and now you're asking for trouble. All right? So here again, I'm going to, and just use your hands to assist it. All right? So I'm going to exhale. I want to stay tall here. Inhale, just come back to neutral. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Once I feel like I got that opened up a bit, now I can get myself nice and long. Take that deep breath. We'll just do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got a lot. Now we're going to go side to side. Good. Now front to back. So when I put on my big exhale, push the pelvis back. Push the pelvis forward. Pull it back. Pull it forward. Push it forward. Stay tall. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, too, after being able to, what I would do with my clients is after maybe we got a certain amount of reps, say if it's 10, I like 10 to be usually a good enough number to kind of really get in there and get that breath deep. And then what I can do is then hold it. So then now I'm going to have them put the sweep, as they get down in that position, hold it, get that uncomfortable spot where it starts to suck. That's the best thing about yoga, is you find that you're pushing the limits, right? You're finding that edge where you can still get a little uncomfortable, but deep breathe and relax. And that's what it's all about. Natural stress response. in a safe environment to teach you that when you're getting a stressful situation outside of the gym in the yoga class, that you can calm your breath, relax yourself into that uncomfortable position so that you're calm, smooth, and collected, and you're the person that you want to go to war with, right? When the shit hits the fan, you don't want that person that's hyperventilating. Oh my God, there's bombs going on. You want the guy that's, we're in a bad situation right now, but we're gonna make the best of it, and we're not gonna lose our head. That is training. That's the hardest thing to train in most people. And as a yoga instructor, I always see the type A personality that can't come or relax themselves in any situation. They're usually rushing out the door while we're supposed to be sitting in dead body pose or savasana and trying to relax ourselves. Use those drivers. There's so many. I can use my hand as a driver there and open up if I feel like my shoulders are tight. Again, I'm just taking you through the pelvis because in my opinion and in my experience, that's the one that's locked up on most people, and that's the one that we need to mobilize because it's supposed to be a mobile joint. The ball and socket of where the femur meets the pelvis should be the most mobile, the most movable. And when it's locked up from sitting our asses too much down or being in the fetal position or not stretching or not focusing our attention on all three planes of movement, which most people don't in the gym, they're usually focused on one. And the same thing when it comes to yoga, watch for it. Because you might be able to sit in that pose and then you realize too, I'm bending from the spine, and most yoga instructors do not see that. And I explained that in the half moon pose that I took you through where we started, and that's to open it up, to push that pelvis back. I, as a yoga instructor, for a lot of times until I got my class ready, took it right out because most people cannot forward fold without bending the spine. And why would I exasperate that problem or continue to be a part of that problem? Because it's hard to me to completely take one person at a time out of there. And it's most of the people that sit at work. And so what I did was I actually had them deep squat, like a child squat, because that's how a kid or anybody else in the other part of the world would work. Let's say if they're working in the garden, would be sitting in a deep squat, and most Americans can't sit in a deep squat, which means they're here, right? Can you sit there and work like a kid, sit there and play with his toys all day long? Most adults in the United States could sit in there for couldn't even get in that position. Couldn't even get in that position, let alone even sit in it for longer than 3 seconds. Use this. I hope this will take your yoga to another galaxy. Tie movement into yoga. Yoga is good because yes, you can do static balance, which is the hold, but you also need to practice balancing with dynamic movement, meaning balance while you're moving stuff all the time. Like instead of just static and you get both ranges of that, and you're going to take it to a whole nother level. And with that being said, namaste.